Greetings everyone. In this video, I'm going to do a little bit more with triggers. So let me set up exactly what we're going to be working with here. I have a table called employee, and I just got some data in my employee table. And I also have another table that we're going to be using. In this case, I got another table called new employee. So I'm going to write a trigger that's going to interact with one of these tables and write it to the next one. So just to show you what's in the new employee, I just got nothing in there for now. It's basically two different tables I have. So anyway, what a trigger is, remember, a trigger is a stored program that gets fired upon a variety of things, but it gets fired upon SQL events or in some cases system events such as logging in. So you can put a trigger on DML, data manipulation language, or DDL, data definition language. In this case, what we're going to do is I'm going to put a trigger on one of these tables that's going to fire upon a specific SQL call or a SQL action or a DML statement, a SQL DML statement, which I'm going to write. Now, remember, triggers are used to enforce database rules and enforce data integrity rules or whatever you want to do automatically. It's basically taking a SQL script, in this case Oracle PL SQL, and then what you do is you build a trigger that trigger gets fired upon some sort of event. Trigger employee, and then what I'm going to do is I need to kind of put what this trigger is going to be on and when does it get fired. Does it get fired before a SQL statement gets executed? Does it get fired after a SQL statement gets executed? I need to actually supply that. Then I need to supply what SQL clause. So after update means after a specific table, which we haven't put in here yet, is updated, fire this code. So in line 2, I'm just going to add one line of code here called emp salary. So basically what I'm saying here is after the emp salary column on the employee table is updated, I want to execute this code. So I kind of had that a little bit turned around there. So after the of is the column and on is the actual table. And then we say for each row. So this is saying for every update for each specific row or tuple in the employee table of the emp salary column, I want to do this. This is what I'm going to put between line 4 and line 6. So this is where I could put my code in. Now, if you know how to write PL SQL, you know really how to write a trigger. I mean, a trigger is really about execution and putting code somewhere, not necessarily learning new code. So what I'm going to do here is on line 5, I'm going to put insert into new employee, and I'm going to put in my bind variables. We have old and we have new, but I'm going to put in first of all, I'm going to put in my columns in the new employee table I want to insert into. So I'm going to insert into new employee, the ID column, salary, and message. And the values in line 6 is I can specify my bind variables. My old value, which is the value before it got updated, so I could put that in my new employee table. So remember, old and new. Old is the existing value in the table, if there is one, and new is the new one. So in this case, what we're doing is we're effectively, before we do the update of the salary, we're going to insert a record in the new employee, basically taking a record of what that role looked like before we actually did the update. So it's kind of like writing an audit, a very good use of a trigger. So let me just get past my watermark here, and I should be okay. So anyway, so here I got line 6, old emp ID, new emp salary, and I'll put record is updated. A very, very simple trigger. Now this is just the SQL, or pardon me, the code to build my trigger. It doesn't actually fire it. I didn't need to build it first. So after I make sure I get all my bugs out of here, I'm going to just execute this code just so I have my trigger there. And then what I'm going to do is I can actually test my trigger by updating the employee salary on the employee table. So I just fired my trigger again by using the execute button, which is the green arrow on the bar. And again, I'm using SQL Developer, but if you're using something like if you're using an IDE like Apex, it works the same way. It is, you'd write a script and you'd execute it. Does the same thing. So anyway, so I got my trigger that's compiled. So now I can actually test it. I can say, how about we do this? I'm going to update the employee table, and I will do set emp salary, and I will, make it something else, that's going to fire this trigger off. Remember, triggers fire silently. So after I click the execute button to execute this update statement, what's going to happen is immediately after my update happens on the on the employee table, it's going to write into the new employee, which is line 5. Anyway, so here we go. So I just executed the one line of code. I see one row updated. Now notice nothing says, hey, the trigger is fired, because that's how triggers work. Remember, triggers, actually execute silently. They don't fail silently, but they do. So we got there for Ahmad. We got this salary. It's been updated to 10,000, in this case, dollars. Now, if you look at new employee and do an execute, we're going to see that we have the record is updated, employee ID, and we got the old value there as 10,000. So that's pretty much it. Now, this is kind of a fast example, but use triggers to enforce database integrity or certain business rules if you want it to always be fired upon a SQL statement. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.